All right, welcome back to our Simple Healthy Life podcast, where our goal is to have real, insightful conversations on topics that we find interesting. And I got to tell you, this is one of my favorite real conversations because I want everybody to recognize that you're not unique. When you start to negotiate with yourself, and whatever reason you're negotiating with yourself, it's not just a you thing. Right? This is an everybody thing. And as many of you know, listen to the podcast, we've developed CRAVE, the formula for helping people show up when the moments matter most. And the capstone of that training is something we're calling the gap. All right. So what's the gap? We all have goals. We all want to grow. We all want to evolve. We want to better ourselves, whether it's financially, physically, mentally, spiritually, relationship-wise. There's something that we're always driving for. The gap is essentially the space between where you are and where you want to be with whatever your topic of choice is, right? We're going to start with a fitness example, just because it's an easy one everybody can relate to. Mm-hmm. I want to lose 15 pounds. Okay, well, how long do you want that to take? Well, realistically, I think I can do it in 2 months. Okay, so realistically, the new goal is I want to lose 15 pounds over the course of 2 months. All right, so the gap is where you are, whatever you weigh now, and 60 days-ish, 61, whatever months they are, I want to be this goal. So 250, 235, okay? The gap is those 61 days and those 15 pounds, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, so what most people do is they go, perfect, I got a plan. It's a SMART goal. For all of you that have gone through type of corporate America training, you're going to find out SMART goal, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. Those are all, they all fit that measure. And then you're going to go, all right, what's my plan? How am I going to do that? Well, right now my activity level's low and my diet's not so great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and get myself a nutritionist. I'm going to get myself a personal trainer. They are going to tell me I need to go to the gym 3 days a week and I need to eat, we'll just say whole foods. You're the dietitian, but we're going to go with that. It's probably close. Yeah. Okay. So, all right, now I have a plan. What I do when I get to the gym, we'll figure that out afterwards, right? But that's the plan. Okay, great. Here we are. Everybody knows everybody starts this plan on Monday. It's just how it works. So Monday morning, the alarm goes off. It's 5:15. You don't have to be at work till 8. I got my time, got my plan. Here we go. I'm going to the gym. Got it. Done. Perfect. Day one, complete. All right, well, I only have to go to the gym 3 days a week. So now it's Wednesday morning. What most plans skip, first of all, is the why. Okay? Nobody even asked you, why do you want to lose the 15 pounds? Well, I want to feel better in my clothes. Fair. Well, I see the other people around me, and I know that I know it. I'd feel better if I'm a little lighter. Fair. Well, actually, I want to have more energy throughout the day. Good one. You know what? I really just want more energy to play with my kids. Great one. Perfect. Okay, now we have some real stuff we're aiming for. Awesome. Let's go a little deeper on the why. Is your goal to just lose 15 pounds? And then we'll deal with whatever that person is at the end of the 15 pounds. Or is your goal to become somebody that goes to the gym, eats whole foods, and lives a lifestyle that gives them enough energy to play with their kids, feels good in their clothes, and whatever the third reason I just gave was. It's more likely than not that that's your why. Does this make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right too. Like a lot of people will skip that part, like an actually meaningful why, because to be accepted by other people or to like wear some new clothes or whatever it is really not necessarily compelling. And that in this example, yeah, I think you're exactly right. Maybe a more comprehensive why is just that. And then asking yourself, does the goal even make sense? I mean, do you actually even need to lose weight to be the person who takes care of themselves, right? Or can that just happen as a result of taking care of yourself, right? So that's another thing. Like, does the goal even, is the process more important than the outcome? I think is what you're kind of suggesting. Is the identity more important than the number, right?
Yeah. So in theory, well, not in theory, in reality, in practicality, almost every time we have a goal, when we take our why and look at it holistically, we actually have two goals. We have what I'm calling, or we call, a dual aim. We have this goal: I want to lose 15 pounds. And then we have this: who's the person I'm trying to be throughout this process, in the gap and beyond, right? So when you have and identify that you actually have two goals every single time, when these moments come up, and this is what I'm getting at, when the moments come up within the gap, within the plan, that's you, let's say you lack competency. Let's say, I'm going to give you the example now, the 5:15 a.m. example, okay? It's Wednesday, it's 5:15, you went to the gym on Monday, you ate good, whatever good is, on Monday, you feel pretty good, you did good on Tuesday, and here comes Wednesday at 5:15. Well, the person that up until now has kind of thought about doing this stuff and wanted to do this stuff, well, they're still there, laying in bed. And what's your standard response? Your standard response for most of us is to roll over, start to negotiate with ourselves, because it's never a quick hit the alarm, going back to bed. It's always that, like, oh, I gotta, well, no, you know what? I did go on Monday, and oh wait, I only have to go 3 days this week. That means I can still go Friday, and I don't think I'm doing anything on Saturday. I can go Saturday. Yeah, you're right. Nope, too tired, can't do it. Nope, boom, right? That's our standard response. Let's just call it what it is. Okay, so here we are. We're living in the gap. We're trying to accomplish this goal. And we did the old way, the planning. We said, all right, that's the plan. Oh, I can still make the plan. I can still make the plan work. Well, what I'm here to talk about today is the opportunity that we have to use these skills that we can develop to become the person that we're trying to become and hit the goal at the same time, right? So here's what I'm proposing for you. This is the example we're going to use, and then we'll use a different one for other people. Write down your why. Write down the whole why, the big one, the long one. I want to lose 15 pounds. I want to be the person that shows up for themselves. I want to play with my kids in the morning and the evening after work. I want to practice becoming someone who does the things that they say they're going to do. I want to feel physically fit. I want to live longer. I want to be healthier. Write the whole thing down, right? In this example, I want you to keep it next to your bed. And now I want you in the morning, when you feel yourself starting to negotiate with yourself, instead of saying, I need to get all the way to the gym, I want you to sit up, grab your piece of paper that says what your why is. I want you to take a little sip of water, and I want you to think about what it feels like at 9:30 in the morning when you didn't do the thing you said you were going to do. How's that feel? We all know how it feels. It feels like, oh, I could have done that. I can't even believe I didn't do that. Oh, my bed was pretty comfy, but I can do that. I know I can do that. That is a step in showing up for yourself when the moments really matter. And that's the moment that really matters within the gap, not when you walked in the gym, not when you got home. It's that moment right there. When you start negotiating with yourself, that's one of those moments that really matter. And I think this example is very relatable to everybody.
Yeah. It doesn't really matter what the you know what the specific goal is. There are those moments, right, where like it kind of matters, and you're kind of feeling that like resistance at the very least, right? And you know, so many people are really good at taking advantage of times when they feel good, right, where like the motivation is high, right? It's not really the problem. The Monday morning, you just made a plan, you just talked with someone, like it's kind of easy, right? It is the way that you relate to yourself in those hard times, right? And we forget that we have a relationship with ourselves. And if that relationship is built upon making promises and not fulfilling them, well, you're gonna have problems, right? And I think what you're saying is negotiate in a way where all parties are at the table, right? Because, you know, at 5:15, you're negotiating with the part of yourself that's like, yeah, but I just like sleep right now, and that's, you know, he's pretty loud when he's when he's at the
Right
table,
there.
right? He shows up first. None of the other parts are awake yet. They're at the, you know, they're still sleeping, and you're like, well, you know, I'll make the executive call, bed.
I love that.
But you're calling for actually bring everyone to the table, all parts of yourself. Bring them all to the table. Have a fair discussion, right? Have a fair negotiation. Because I also don't necessarily think the tyrannical, like, nope, just do it, just grind harder. Like, I don't think that actually works either, because then, you know, then we're kind of operating based on rules, and humans don't do good with that. Imagine if you had your wife, if you guys had rules with each other. Okay, you're not going to talk to me about this subject after 6 p.m., and then you're going to address me this way. And if you don't do any of these things, then, you know, we're done, right? Terrible, awful. It doesn't feel good, right? So we can't necessarily have rules. We can have standards, though, just as you'd have standards for a relationship. You know, you came home pretty angry every single night this week, and you think you took it out on me, right? I'm not setting any rules, but I don't feel good about this, right? It's such a more fair approach. It's dynamic.
Right. And both of these, all of these require a skill, and that skill is resilience, right? Mm-hmm. We are going to miss. We are going to let that part of us that we're negotiating with win. The question is, can you become resilient? And can you say to your significant other, like, have that conversation? Okay, perfect. Oh, you know what? I apologize. I'd like to change my behavior a little bit, and thank you for bringing it to my attention, and I will do better. Okay, well, a month goes by, and now there's like a real reason when they come home angry for the week. And okay, well, this is resilience, right? This is our ability to adapt. Resilience, in many regards, is the ability to adapt to the growth in the life that you want. I think a lot of us misunderstand stress. We say, and we've been like told somehow, we don't want stress. Stress is bad, right? Like, okay, long-term stress, definitely no good. We're gonna probably kill you. Like, actually documented, probably kill you.
Yeah.
But acute stress, right? Stress in the moment. Stress that is because you're trying to grow. We want that. Like anybody on this call, anybody listening in the podcast that's a parent, like a parent, not a parent, they invited stress into their life big time. They were like, you know what I want? I want kids. I want to be a father figure. I want to be a mother figure. I want to grow a family, right? Well, guess what? There ain't nobody that thinks that's not stressful, right? So you do want the stress, but you want a way to handle it, deal with it, work with it, right? You want to grow into the person that is the parent, and through that growth requires resilience, right?
Yeah, you want the capacity to hold stress, right? And that's going to look different, right? Man, I really think it's fair to externalize the relationship to ourselves. So I like these like kind of examples where we're talking about the spouse or a friend or whatever it is. But imagine a really tumultuous relationship, and then it goes under stress, right? Like you and your wife been having a rocky time for the last couple years, and then something happens, whatever it is, someone cheats or says something or does something, the chances of you being able to like survive that are astronomically lower than than someone being in a more healthful relationship, right? So as you look at yourself, I mean, what is that relationship like? Have you really committed to the things that you say? Have you kept your promises, right? Have you been kind to yourself? Okay, chances are you can probably hold a lot more stress in that environment than one of, okay, I've had a really rough mental health history. So maybe I keep the promises kind of small. Maybe I set realistic goals in that way. Maybe if I'm never used to waking up at 5:15 and I can barely brush my teeth, maybe we set a fair goal, right? So that we don't encounter stressful events that we're just not going to win, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think it's all good examples. We want to be able to like grow in our ability to handle stress. We want to grow our relationship so that we can take on much more of that. So we have better capacity. And I think you're exactly right. A lot of people think about even like dealing with stress as this way of, okay, do this thing so that the stress you're experiencing in this moment goes away.
Right.
Cope better, right? And all of us do this, right? Kind of unconsciously. We do this with drugs. We do this with food. We do this with sex. We do this with lots of different things, right? Ooh, I feel such a way. I'm going to have a drink, right? Ooh, I feel such a way. I'm going to eat, right? And that's pretty poor coping. That's like a maladaptive strategy, meaning that we adapt into it. It's very natural, but it's a way of escaping the feeling. The gym examples are also kind of nice because, they're so easy, but they're like, you learn so much from just the physical conditioning. Imagine if you're going into the gym and you're doing some dumbbell curls, right? And the second you feel some stress, some strain, some resistance, you say, ooh, I got to solve this problem. I have to solve it right now, in fact. And so you build this elaborate pulley system that then it makes the 20 pounds that you're lifting like actually lighter. So, oh, I'm doing the 20 pounds now. When in fact, you're not actually lifting 20 pounds. You're just figuring out a short-term solution to that. And then every resistance you work into the gym or you encounter in the gym is built upon that. I'm going to set up this elaborate pulley system. I'm going to get a spotter and just have them kind of like lift the weight for me, right? What are you actually doing? You're reducing the stress, but you're not actually enduring it. You're not actually growing. And so, yeah, as we encounter this like type of resistance with ourselves, appropriate coping is actually just holding that kind of way, right? Is being in the place of being stressed and like you said, adapting to it, not escaping it through, I don't know, backdoor negotiations or drugs or giving up or whatever it is. It's being able to be okay with the fact that, ooh, I don't feel so good.
Yeah, definitely. So this comes back to this kind of skill of awareness, right? Like you might think that pulley system's working for you. And you might even start telling your family and friends, hey, I can curl 20 pounds now, right? We're still using the same example, but like, you have to be aware of the fact that that's just not the truth, right? And it's not the truth for me. It doesn't matter what I say. It's whether or not it's the truth for you. And like, actually, you know what? I cope fine, Ryan. I just need one glass of whiskey at night. Just one, kind of helps me sleep, right? Okay, well, did you adapt? Have you been growing through that process? Or are you just practicing this new coping mechanism that is essentially not moving you forward? The answer is ultimately your own, right? This is where we get into this like internal negotiation, this internal understanding of our own feelings. Like, yeah, you can use the 5:15 example all you want, and you can say, you know what, I'm just not going to get up today. Cool, fair. I do it, you do it, we all do it. But 60 days from now is coming, that vacation that you were really trying to, that you didn't even write in your why, but it was like actually there because you're like, I kind of just want to look good on the beach, but we don't want vanity in our why, even though it's a real thing. It's still coming, right? That 60 days is still coming. So can you be aware of the fact that you negotiated with yourself, that part of you that says this morning it's not worth it to me to get up. And some people can't, some people don't, right? They actually practice the skill of avoiding their own level of self-awareness. We run into these people all the time. We see them, right? Because it manifests itself in all sorts of different ways. It's not easy.
Well, some people are pretty lack self-awareness. That is true. There's also, I think, even maybe a bigger problem where people could be quite self-aware, but they actually think they can do more than they probably can, right? They make unfair requests of themselves because we see all these other people, right? We see people in the gym curling 65 pounds, and we're like, well, if they can do it, then I should be able to, right? I should get somewhere close, right? So let me try my 40s. Oh, that's kind of heavy. So set up this pulley system. Let me fake it, right? Let me fake it all. When in fact, yeah, I mean, some people just really, you are where you are at with your relationship to self. And if you're really struggling with just completing the basic necessities, you're probably not going to complete this whole big transformation of your life. And there's some humility required in saying, I can't wake up at 5:15. That's a very unfair request, but that's not a reason to avoid it entirely. If that's the goal, to get the gym, however much, well, I mean, you need to make a fair request. You need to have a winnable goal. And I think what I see, I don't know, I mean, you work with people a lot as well, and with these groups and everything now, you're seeing like a different perspective, which is quite interesting. But I see people setting just completely unrealistic goals all the time. They're realistic in the sense that they're never crazy. They're never like,
they sound good.
Yeah, they sound great. They sound great if you're a person who, let's face it, your relationship to self and stress is better, right? But when you're struggling already and you're saying, well, I'm gonna transform it. I'm changing everything about my diet, and I'm going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week from nothing. It works sometimes. It really does. It really does. But the amount of times it works in relation to the amount of times it doesn't is like it's a ridiculous number, I'm sure. So be fair, be humble. Maybe your ballpark, maybe you can win the 1 walk a week, right? Maybe that's realistically your challenge. And I think people would look at that and be like, that's silly. That's not even worth my time. That's not even worth my effort. And guess what? Are you failing that goal too? Are you like diminishing the importance of that small little goal? So I love the idea. I love the idea of having, like meeting this resistance, especially when it comes to like small manageable goals and trying to push through it, right? That's your ballpark. That's where you can actually win. If our relationship to self is kind of tumultuous or we're working on it, then, you need to set conditions for yourself to at least have some success, right? Really, at the very least. And if these things are too hard, getting up super early or, I don't know, changing the whole diet, if those are too hard and you're likely to fail, I don't know if it's even worth it to pursue, quite honestly. That's at least what I see.
Go. Perfect. And I couldn't agree more, right? In our example, if you kind of extrapolate this out, right? 2 months, 8 weeks, 3 times a week, 24 times. 24 times. You're going to go from not getting up at 5:15 in the morning to getting up 24 times in 2 months. Like you said, sometimes it works, right? We can do things to help it work. And would you be that upset with yourself if you started off by just getting once, right? And then once again, and then twice, and then maybe week 3 you start like realizing, oh, there's some things that actually make it a little bit easier for me. If I go to bed a little bit earlier, then I've been a little more successful, right? If I keep my clothes done for the gym in the morning, I'm a little bit more successful. Like if I do a couple other things that make sense for me, not for you, but for me, then I'm a little bit more successful, right? Mm-hmm. So this concept of pushing through resistance, right? What it comes down to, and this is a skill, and we're going to call this skill courage. In fact, we call it courage, because courage is the ability to push through resistance or fear. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to even talking about fear for now, right? Because it's an even more difficult thing. But this resistance that you feel, a lot of times what happens is people don't even recognize that that's what it is, right? They start negotiating with themselves. And they don't even know why. They're just like, they're so used to practicing negotiating with themselves about taking out the trash, or about whether they should have the cookie or not have the cookie, or whether they should have that tough conversation with their spouse or not have that conversation with their spouse. They're so used to practicing this that they don't even see it as resistance anymore. They just see it as the two sides of them that are at war all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's how they show up. Externally, that's how they show up. You can tell, you can see it. Like, I know I can see it, and I can feel it in myself. I'm speaking from example here. I'm like great at negotiating with myself. As good as a negotiator I am with other people, trust me, I am that guy. So I see this resistance. Well, what I'm telling you is that it's actually a skill. Mm-hmm. It's a skill that you can build. And the way you build the skill is you do it. Mm-hmm. There's no other way. Right? You can learn about it, you can read about it, you can listen to podcasts on it, you can study it, you can do the brain stuff, you can do the body stuff, you can do all the things, but eventually you have to do the action. Even once. You got to pick up the guitar, you got to put your hands on it. You have to.
Right.
There is no other way.
Right, which is why it's so important to like have a fair challenge, right? Because you can, I mean, if you're trying to skateboard and you're thinking, okay, I've never skateboarded before, I'm gonna learn a kickflip, and you're just working on a kickflip. I mean, it's not a good place to start. Is it theoretically possible that you could learn a kickflip? Yeah, but maybe it's actually more your wheelhouse to kind of just ride around, right? Yeah. You know, just like ride around. I don't know anything about skateboarding, but perhaps it is. Perhaps
get yourself a helmet.
Yeah. Get yourself a helmet and ride around and do that for maybe the answer is, I don't know, again, not much about skateboarding, but maybe the answer is do that for 6 months, right? Maybe you just get so comfortable on the board that you kind of start to learn a little bit of the nuances, right? But that's been exceptionally helpful in my life to humility and understanding everything as a skill, right? It's childish, not childlike. Childlike is it's kind of a positive trait in some ways. Childish to say, I'm just lazy, right? Yeah, okay. Well, case closed then. You're lazy. You're never going to wake up early. You're never going to like make the time that's important to you. So anytime you kind of see that, I'm just this, I'm just that, right? That's just the way I am. You are being childish and you're avoiding responsibility. And that's, I guess that's probably hard to hear, but that's really what it is, because there is some truth to, you might be feeling fear in that moment, like you said. Seems odd for a person to say, I'm fearful of getting out of bed right now, right? But what's the other reason, I guess? What's your reason? I'm lazy. I was tired, right? Well, okay. That's not actually a reason, because it's not true.
Right.
It's not true. It's a narrative. It's a story. It's not the actual truth. It might just be helpful to talk to someone about, like, what was really going on during that moment? What were you really thinking about? What were you really worried about? What actually happened? I don't think it was just straight up laziness. I think there was something there. And maybe there's something there is like, that was a kickflip, and I've never stood on a skateboard before, right? That might be it.
Yeah, or it's like, I could probably still do my goals if I don't do this action, right? That's a good one, right? That one's like where you kind of like twist yourself up. Like, I could probably still play with my kids well into my 50s or 60s or 70s if I don't bother with the thing that I said I'm interested in doing. Okay, well, only you know is that enough to get you to do whatever you're saying you want to do. I think the bigger challenge is, how do you win these negotiations with yourself? One of the things that you can do, and they've studied this quite a bit, one of the things that you can do is you can actually rehearse these moments before they happen. Interesting to think about, right? Something that makes us all very successful, and you can tell, when you've pre-planned something, you're a lot more successful than when you just winged it, right? When you don't go on, most people don't just get on a plane and land in another country and be like, where do you want to stay tonight?
Now what?
Right? They do all this pre-planning, right? Or they go, I think I want to interview for this job. Oh, look, I got the interview. Hey, Ryan, what's up? First question, what do you want to do here? Well, I don't know. I didn't really think about it yet.
Didn't
right?
really look it up.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can actually pre-plan for this stuff, right? When you start to recognize that everything is practice, right? You've practiced not getting up every morning, and we're trying to practice getting up in the morning. So a couple things can happen. I love your child example because there's actually a really great example in this scenario. They studied, it's like 94 studies across 3,000 people, just under 3,000. I would love to know why they do like 2,957 people, just so we're clear. It's like, did 3 people screw up and get thrown out, or like, did you want an odd number? Like, what's going on with that? But anyways, 94 studies, 3,000 people. I'm exaggerating. 2,957 is actually the number. They said, what we want you to do for the next 90 days, there's 12 weeks, was it 12 weeks? We want you to come up with an intentional response to something that is coming up into your world, right? Every day. We want you to pre-plan for it. We want you to close your eyes. We want you to use cues. Like here's one that they used a lot. It's the accountability example. You are a boss. You have to have a tough conversation with an employee. Okay, standard for most people is to do the planning stage, like we talked about. You make the plan. Okay, I'm gonna at noontime we set the meeting. We know that Ryan's coming in, and we know the gap. Ryan didn't hit the thing that we told him he needed to do, and okay, we know the goal. The goal is to make sure that Ryan understands that he needs to be accountable for the thing, and then okay, here we go, right? And then Ryan walks in. The standard way is, hey Ryan, I want to talk to you about your performance lately. And then, boom, Ryan responds.
I cry.
You cry. Good, even better. Yeah, that's even tougher to deal with, right?
Yeah.
We didn't plan for that. I wouldn't have planned for that, by the way. I wouldn't have seen that one coming. So what do? We do the things that most people do. And we'll all pretend that you're the bravado here, and you're like, nope. The rules is rules, and all this stuff. It's not accurate. Here's what happens. You soften the message. They go, oh, Josie, whoa, hey, hold on a second, Ryan. It's not so bad, buddy. We can talk about this, right? Or we redirect the conversation, or we avoid it altogether. Actually, the reason I brought you in here was because I just want to see if you need a hand with some stuff, right? You want a napkin or something, right? We do all these things. But at the end, we didn't accomplish what we were trying to accomplish. We needed you to understand that there is a level of accountability that has to happen at this role, and you have to be able to do it. And I need to be supportive of you. And we need to be very clear on why we're having the meeting, what the meeting is, and how it's going. Well, you can plan for this. It'd be tough for me to plan for you crying, but I could definitely plan for you to say something like, well, Mike, you don't understand all the things I was going through. Right. I can sit down, I can close my eyes, I can say, I know this about me. I know that when I'm going to have this tough conversation, it probably took me a little while to even have it. I should have had it on Monday, but here it is. It's Thursday, so I already put it off. I know that about me, so I put it off till Thursday. And okay, why am I having this conversation with Ryan? Right, back to our why. Well, because it's a respect thing for Ryan, for him to know clearly that the expectation that we had wasn't met. Okay, that's a great one, because now it takes it off of me and puts it on him. It's also a respect thing for me because I need the team to function as a team and everybody has to pull their weight and all these things. Okay, perfect. Dual aim, dual why. And I need to know that me internally, can practice being a leader that can have compassion, that can be honest, that can be straightforward, that can be clear, and can get the results that we're trying to get, right? Because it's still me internally. Okay, great. So here we go. Now I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to think about this conversation. I'm going to start with the words, Ryan, thanks for coming in today. And then I'm going to visualize your response. And then what happens then? Oh, you know what normally happens? My shoulders shrink a little bit. I slow myself down and I start thinking about ways I can negotiate with myself to still get some of the message across. Well, they've proven across this 997 people that when you have an intentional response to a scenario that you know or is likely to come up, you're more successful in those environments. And they did this, they studied it over 3 weeks, and then they actually studied it again over 12 weeks. And what happened at the 12-week mark was people developed the habit of planning for these moments. And over the course of those 12 weeks, they do this thing called a standard deviation, right? Like the average is the mean, the middle, and then they break it down like 2 is like not likely, didn't do anything. 4 is like not, it's actually less likely. Like, so it did something, but it's not really likely that it happened. 6 is likely, and 8 is like very, very likely that you were successful. It came to 0.65 was the standard deviation. So 0.65, meaning you did this every day for 12 weeks, and at the end of those 12 weeks, you were very likely, almost very likely, to have a better outcome. Mm-hmm. Right. I think, me personally, I think it comes down to that thing we keep saying. They're practicing. Mm-hmm. They're just practicing. Right. They're planning and practicing.
Right. Yeah, you're saying like planning for the likely barriers, right? The likely challenges, which are quite obvious, right? If you actually take any time at all to think about what you're aiming for and the likely challenges, they're pretty obvious. You know yourself, right? So plan for that. Visualize the experience. Practice, right? I bring it up all the time because I think it's fascinating, and I don't think a lot of people really believe in visualization for whatever reason. But yeah, musicians visualize all the time. I was visualizing in 7th grade as I was daydreaming in science class. Every day I visualized my fretboard and playing the guitar and the thing that I was challenged by, the exact sequence of notes and riffs and whatever that I was challenged by. And then I go home and play it better, right? It's because visualization is a real thing. You talk to a musician, they know that intuitively because it's so clear in our heads, right? I imagine artists do the same thing. I imagine any person who knows a skill in any capacity can sometimes like daydream a little bit about doing that skill. Skateboarders, I bet they do it. I bet they think about kick flips and whatnot.
You know, one that comes to mind when you say that is, and I know everybody's seen this, and I know I've done it, is the golfer.
Yeah.
That actually
exactly.
turns, it doesn't just, for some reason, you ever see them just like standing there, no club in their hand, and they're like doing their swing, and you're like, what are you doing over there? It kind of looks funny. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
They're seeing themselves hit the ball straight. They're seeing the body mechanics. They're working through it.
Right.
A lot of times when we say visualization, number one, it gets thrown in with manifestation. It gets thrown in with all these different things, right? Well, the studies are proving this. I'm telling you, these studies are working. They're proving it. But a lot of times what they're trying to do is people are like, well, I'm going to visualize the goal, right? I'm going to visualize myself winning $10 million. Well, that's not, that breaks the mold of visualization, right? Because that's not likely. That's Like, you didn't start in the 7th grade visualizing yourself playing like the hardest Metallica riff, right? Because it's not likely. I mean, maybe now, but then no. You used your fretboard, like you said, in your head. You knew what you was likely to see that afternoon when you were working on it. And you sit down at the piano and you know you're likely to be playing chopsticks at the beginning. So you start picturing yourself. I mean, we've talked about this on other podcasts, but they do these and piano is one of them. They did a study of piano players, and they gave some people, they gave everybody the same music. Some people sat down and practiced with their hands, and some people visualized it. The outcome was the same. They were the visualizing team was successful. Now, what we're saying, or what I'm saying, specifically what we're saying, is it doesn't always have to be that positive, that like thing that's fun to visualize. Like, yeah, I want to visualize what it looks like to win $1 million or 10 million. Let's go with 100 million because I want a private island. Hold on, give me a second. Right? Of course, that's fun. But can you work through the resistance of sitting down and visualizing something that is likely to be standing in your way from hitting your goal? Not so fun, less fun, but worth it. Effective, valuable.
Right. Yeah, those moments, like you said, when you're waking up, you can reasonably imagine, if all you have time for is gym in the morning, you can reasonably imagine that the hard part is waking up. And you can reasonably then visualize, okay, I'm going to wake up, eyes are opened, alarms blaring. I'm going to feel heavy resistance. So is there something that I can practice? I'm not going to make that resistance any better, right? Like, again, we can't set up the pulley systems to like make stress easier. It just doesn't work like that. Life is not like this. But can I visualize at least the next step, right? Can I practice in my head, waking up, feeling frustrated, feeling tired, feeling resistance, shutting off the alarm, and then just sitting up, right? Can I just do that, right? And I'm willing to bet I'd place money on that being an effective strategy for somewhat effective, like I said, reasonably effective towards getting better at that challenge. And the goal here, I think, what you're saying just in general, is that we often might plan for those like intentions. Say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And you can visualize all that, but we don't necessarily plan for those like hard moments. We don't anticipate them. And if we do, it's like this like kind of anxiety anticipation, this like powerlessness, not an empowered encounter with this resistant experience, right? And so be empowered. Look at it from like a solution-oriented kind of basis. Think ahead of time of what the resistance might be. You don't have to think about every single one. You can't, but I don't know, one to three likely challenges, and then practice in your head. Visualize a little bit. Plan for those moments, and then you'll feel a little bit more confident going into it.
I love that word, empowered. Right, like what you're doing is you're empowering yourself, and everybody wants that.
Yeah.
Right. We all want to be able to be the person that can empower ourselves. You talked about it a bunch of times already, that relationship with self. Man, if I can feel empowered through my own actions, through my own pre-planned responses, through my own prep, man, what a great feeling. I want to leave the audience with this. That study they did, the 94, it was over 94 different studies, right? So I don't know, I didn't do that math, how it works out, how many people were in each study. It's probably not universal, right? No. Somewhere more, right? The greatest results were with children. Mm-hmm. And you said the difference between childish and being childlike. Children, when they pre-planned this response, right? Let's use an example I'm going to make up off the top of my head, right? First day of school. No, let's go with second day of school, because everybody knows you choose your desk on the first day of school, and then that's your desk, no matter how it goes down, right? So second day of school, you come to school, and there's someone sitting in your desk. I mean, I remember being 12, and that was like a weird thing. I didn't know what to do about that, right? Children looked at two ways. One, they remained curious. They said, I'm going to plan this, and they told them, plan this in your head, plan the outcome, and go after it. And 2, the biggest one is they looked at it as an experiment, not a test. This is an experiment. Go try it. This isn't a test. It's not a pass fail. Like if tomorrow you're like, oh man, I did want to do all these things, and yeah, 515 hits home with me, and actually they're speaking directly to me. Awesome. It's not a test. This is an experiment. This is a try. This is a do. This is a try the actions. Write the thing down. Start with your why. Go through it. Visualize a couple things along the way. See what happens.
Yeah, play, make it less serious. Yeah, children know virtually nothing but know everything. And like I said, our whole lives we are trying to stray away from, run away from being childish. But then you find out, ooh, perhaps I should become more like a child. As I grow up, right? Those are the paradoxes of a child, is that they really approach things in a pretty effective manner. They approach it as if I'm experimenting, as if I'm playing, as if it's novel, because it is for them. And I just wanna learn about this thing, right? They don't have a super developed ego. Their identity has yet formed, and so they're experimenting with that too, right? And for us, again, it kind of comes back into that, like, who we think we are, and we're so hard on ourselves for no reason. And you rarely do hear kids being hard on themselves, right? They say every thought that they have, and it's often not like, I messed up so bad today, right? It was they just played.
Yeah, they certainly don't go, that's just the way I am. Right? That's it. That's like, they're not set in that way. They're like, okay, well, it didn't go good for me. So,
Right.
And then you as parents, us as adults go, okay, well, then just do it differently. And they go, okay, I'm going to try that, right? With maybe some pushback and some tears, but that's what we're after here, right? Well, I think I like this topic. It's fun. I hope that it helped people understand, like, there's certain skills that you can work on and build. Everything is practice. You just spend a lot of time practicing it the other way. So be curious, try, give it your best, pre-plan for the things that you know are coming. And I think that you said it best. And then start to empower yourself.
Yes, great.
Thanks. We'll catch you on the flip side. That's all.
Thanks.